Okay, so we're going to continue in this tutorial from the previous tutorial where I have explained how to create tabbed items like this. Now the tab items do not have content and nothing much happens when you click on them. This is still useful. You can still link any of these items to a place on a separate place or div on your page, or you can link it to an external site that opens in a new browser window when someone clicks on it. But now we're going to complete the part on tabs by actually adding content for each of the list items here and making sure that when someone clicks on the list items, you'll be showing them the item that is related to that particular list. Now to do that, you'll need to give this ordered list an ID. Okay, so let's call this as my tabs. Now let's collapse this entire block. Click on fold current block. Okay, so the navigation of the tabs, that part is pretty much done. Now we're talking about the content of it. So to create the content of your tabs, create a new div and apply the class of tab content. Let's close that div. And now all the content will go inside this div class for tab content. And for the individual items, we will need to add the div class of tab-pane. tab-pane. Okay, and now in order to make this work, each tab pane must also have an ID. So I'm going to give it a very simple ID. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to call it item 1, and I'm going to add some content in item 1. Alright, so this is the basic tab pane over here. Now in order to activate that, you need to go to the corresponding list item, okay, and make sure that this list item is linked to this div with the ID of item 1. Okay, so now it's linked, and since we have 3 items here, I'm going to duplicate the tab pane. I'm going to copy and paste it 2 times, and I'm going to change the second one to item 2 and item 3. And okay, and for the second list item, I'm going to remove the class of disabled. I'm going to link it to div ID item 2 and the third for div ID item 3. Alright, so now the basic structure is done. The first link here would link to the first part of your content, which is under the div item 1 with the class of tab pane. Second links to div ID item 2, and the third list item link will link to div ID item 3. Now it doesn't seem to work, however, because in order to use the functionality of tabs that actually displays the content, you would need to add the HTML5 data attribute to each of these list items here. And to do that, go to the href tag over here, and right after this type in data dash toggle equals to tab. Alright, and now you can copy that, apply it to the other links as well. Okay, now let's test it out. Alright, so now you can see list item 1, list item 2, list item 3, and the corresponding content when it's clicked on. However, if you notice earlier that by default, although I have put this first list item with the class of active, but really there's no content being shown there by default. This is because I need to specify of the 3 tab panes that I have here, I need to specify which tab pane will be visible by default. To do that, right after tab dash pane, I can add active, and now you see content of item 1 here shown by default. And when I click on list item 2, I see content of item 2. List item 3, I see content of item 3. So as for the content of the tabs themselves, you can test adding any kind of content that you want over here. Again, the snippets files are very useful. So let's try map, responsive map. I'm going to go back to tabs. So I'm going to add responsive map to item div ID item 2. Okay, and I'm going to select something else. So I'm going to select video. I'm going to put video on the tab pane ID 3. Okay, and let's see what else can I use. I'm going to select some list icons, and I'm going to put it in the main content area, which is div ID item 1. Okay, so now you have your tab items over here. Let's click on them. It works perfectly. It's a bit too small, so you may want to change this to column MD6. Okay. Now there's one more class you can put into your tab to make it have just a little bit better effect, which is to type in right after tab dash pane. You can type in fade. Okay, and that adds the fade effect to this particular tab pane. I'm going to add fade again here. Okay, and for the active tab pane, I'm going to add fade, but I'm also going to add in, okay, to tell Bootstrap that this tab should be loaded by default. Okay, now let's look at a simple effect here and see how it works like. Right, so you can see a slight fade effect here. If you pay attention to it, you can see a slight fade in, fade out kind of effect that wasn't there before. So this is how you create a simple tab item, and again you can change this to tab pills very easily. It still works great. And if you look at the template files that I've given you, that's exactly how you accomplish this little thing over here. So in fact, in this tutorial I've shown you almost exactly how to create something that looks like this.